The first time my phone exploded with missed calls, I was standing under the Nevada sun, staring at a stretch of desert most people believe does not exist. Heat pressed down on my shoulders like a physical force, the kind you stop questioning because resistance is pointless. Facebook was still open in my hand, frozen on a shaky video from my sister's wedding reception. I had not even turned the volume up yet, but I could already see that something had gone wrong. Guests were standing instead of sitting. Someone was crying. A glass shattered just outside the frame. My father's name lit up my screen again. I did not answer. 3 days earlier, he had told me I would embarrass everyone if I showed up. Now the perfect day he wanted without me was burning down in real time, and somehow I was the one they suddenly needed. That irony did not make me smile. It made my stomach sink. His words replayed in my head with cruel clarity. You are so awkward that everyone feels uncomfortable. Do not come. He did not raise his voice when he said it. He never did. He spoke the way he always did when he believed he was stating an objective truth, like a weather report or a rule of physics. That calm certainty hurt more than shouting ever could. I remembered sitting on the edge of my bunk that night, my phone pressed to my ear, staring at the scuffed concrete floor of my quarters while the desert wind pushed sand against the building in soft, rhythmic taps. Your sister's fiancé is a very important man, he continued. His family is watching everything. I waited for him to soften it. I waited for a pause, for some sign that he realized he was talking to his daughter and not a problem to be managed. None came. This wedding needs to be flawless. You do not fit that environment. I do not want any scenes. Just stay away. Silence had become my survival skill around my father. Growing up, I learned quickly that words only made things worse. If I tried to explain myself, he sighed. If I pushed back, he accused me of being dramatic. Silence, at least, let me keep a fragment of dignity. Okay, I said. He exhaled, relieved. Good. That is for the best. The call ended, and I stayed there long after the screen went dark. I was Callum Monroe, active duty, serving my country in a place most Americans spoke about like it was a rumor. I lived by discipline, accountability, and precision. Yet in my own family, I was still the difficult one, the one who did not smile correctly, the one who did not know how to charm a room full of strangers in expensive clothes. Standing there in the desert now, watching my phone vibrate with his name again and again, I felt something settle deep in my chest. If I went back, it would not be as the daughter who apologized for existing. If I went back, it would be on my terms. My sister Emily had always been the opposite of me. Where I moved through rooms carefully, measuring space and tone, she drifted with an ease that felt almost rehearsed, though I knew it came naturally to her. She knew when to touch someone's arm, when to laugh softly, when to tilt her head just enough to seem engaged without appearing eager. People felt comfortable around her, or maybe they felt reflected. Either way, my father adored that quality. He adored how Emily made him look. Marcus fit neatly into that picture. Wealthy family, private schools, the kind of confidence that comes from never having to wonder whether you belong somewhere. My father spoke about him the way some men talk about acquisitions, not as a person, but as proof that they had done something right, proof that the family story was progressing exactly as it should. I had met Marcus twice. Both times were brief, polite, forgettable in the way that leaves you feeling erased rather than dismissed. He shook my hand firmly, glanced at my face, then redirected his attention almost immediately to my father, to Emily, to the cluster of people who mattered. I did not resent him for it. I had learned early not to expect curiosity from people like that. Still, being explicitly told not to attend my own sister's wedding shifted something in me that quiet endurance could not smooth over. The invitation sat unopened on the narrow metal desk in my room. Cream paper, gold lettering, my name written in a script that felt more decorative than personal. I did not tear it open. I did not need to. The message had already been delivered by phone. You do not fit. You complicate things. Stay away. The irony was sharp enough to taste. I could manage classified material, operate under constant scrutiny, and remain functional in environments where mistakes carried consequences far heavier than embarrassment. But place me in a ballroom filled with strangers in tailored suits and expensive dresses, and suddenly I was a liability. The decision not to go did not feel dramatic. It felt procedural. I confirmed my return to base instead of requesting leave. I packed my gear with the same precision I applied to everything else. Fold. Secure. Check. Area 51 was not glamorous, but it was honest. There, no one asked me to soften myself. No one required charm. You did your job or you did not. That was the metric. The day before the wedding, my father sent one final message. Do not do anything stupid. Do not show up. I stared at the screen until the words blurred, then set the phone face down. If he wanted absence, I would give him absence without caveat. The morning of the wedding arrived clear and unyielding. The Nevada desert has no interest in easing you into the day. The sun rose hard and fast, flattening shadows and burning away softness. I welcomed that. There was comfort in a landscape that did not pretend. I moved through my routine on autopilot. Boots, uniform, coffee that tasted faintly scorched. As I crossed the base, a peculiar calm settled over me. Somewhere else, Emily was being zipped into her dress. Photographers were arranging angles. My father was likely pacing, rehearsing introductions, making sure every detail aligned with the image he had constructed. And I was not there. For the first time, that absence felt less like rejection and more like relief. Mid-morning, I took a break near the perimeter fence. Beyond it, the desert stretched endlessly, empty and indifferent. I pulled out my phone out of habit more than intention and opened Facebook. At first, everything looked exactly as expected. Flowers, smiles, Emily radiant in white. My father standing beside her, posture proud, expression satisfied. I almost closed the app. Then I saw the video. It was unpolished and frantic, recorded by someone whose hands were shaking. The camera lurched from face to face. Voices overlapped. The air seemed charged even through the screen. I recognized the reception hall instantly. Crystal chandeliers, linen-draped tables, the space my father had insisted be perfect. Marcus's voice cut through the noise. Sharp, loud, unrestrained. I felt my chest tighten, then loosen, replaced by a sinking certainty that settled low and heavy. I whispered the words without realizing it. What did you do? My phone vibrated again. My father's name flashed across the screen. I did not answer. I did not answer the second time either. I slid the phone into my pocket as if I could trap the chaos there. Beyond the fence, the desert remained unchanged. Wind traced familiar patterns across the sand. It did not care about weddings or reputations. It did not care who had been excluded or why. I finished my shift without incident. Checklists. Procedures. Quiet professionalism. A few nods from colleagues. No questions. No expectations. That silence felt earned. By late afternoon, the sun pressed down mercilessly. I sat on a shaded bench near an administrative building and finally checked my phone. 12 missed calls, 8 from my father, 2 from my stepmother, 1 from Emily, 1 from a number I did not recognize. Emily's message read, "Please call me. Something is wrong." There was no apology, no acknowledgement of what had been taken from me, just fear, raw and immediate. The instinct to intervene flared automatically. The reflex to step in and absorb the impact for everyone else. I closed the message without responding. The unknown number left a voicemail. I did not listen yet. I did not need to. The wedding had collapsed. And suddenly, I was no longer an inconvenience. I was a resource. As the evening cooled, I walked back toward my quarters. The sky burned orange and purple, the kind of sunset people travel across states to photograph. I had always found it ironic that something so beautiful could exist in a place most people associated with secrecy and fear. Appearances, I had learned, were rarely the whole story. I showered, changed into civilian clothes, and sat on my bed with my back against the wall. Only then did I let the video replay fully in my mind. Marcus's voice, the way it cut through the room like a blade, the sudden stillness of the guests, the look on my father's face, rigid and stunned, as if control itself had slipped through his fingers. This was not a small disruption. This was not wedding stress. This was something structural collapsing under pressure. My phone buzzed again. Emily. I watched it light up, then go dark. I hated myself for not answering, but I knew what would happen if I did. I would listen. I would reassure. I would rush back into the role I had played my entire life. The one who absorbed impact so others could keep moving forward without discomfort. Instead, I opened the voicemail from the unfamiliar number. "Is this Callum Monroe? This is Uncle Tom. I am at the wedding, or what is left of it. Your dad is asking for you. He says it is important." Important. The word tasted bitter. In my work, important meant immediate risk, something that could not be ignored without consequence. In my family, important meant the image was cracking and someone needed to fix it quietly. I lay back and stared at the ceiling while the ventilation system hummed overhead, steady and impersonal. My father had never been openly cruel. He provided. He paid for schools and vacations, and a house that looked exactly the way it should from the street. But everything came with conditions. Approval was transactional. Love was something you earned by performing correctly. Emily learned that early. She became fluent in it. I never did. When I joined the military, my father had been proud at first. It sounded impressive when he told people. His daughter serving her country. That pride faded when he realized it did not elevate him socially. I was not climbing a corporate ladder. I was not marrying into money. I was choosing a life he could not control or display. Area 51 became my refuge, a place where competence mattered more than polish, where being quiet did not disqualify you from belonging. I picked up my phone again and scrolled through social media. The video had spread far beyond the wedding guests. Shares multiplied by the minute. Comment sections filled with speculation and outrage. Strangers dissected my family like characters in a series they had just discovered. I watched the clip again, forcing myself not to look away. Marcus's face was flushed, his jaw tight, his eyes wild. The charm was gone. The polish had cracked. And my father, my unshakable father, looked small. For a moment, something dangerous stirred in me. Vindication. They had believed I was the variable that could ruin everything. And yet without me, the illusion had collapsed anyway. My phone rang again. This time I answered. "What?" I said. "Where are you?" my father demanded. The calm authority he usually wielded was gone, replaced by raw panic. "At base," I replied. "Do you have any idea what is happening here?" "I have a pretty good idea." "You need to come home. Now. You told me not to." "That was different," he snapped. "This is an emergency." "Funny how that works," I said quietly. "I am an embarrassment until you need me." There was a pause, thick and strained. "Your sister needs you," he tried. "This family needs you." "No," I said. "You need damage control." His breath caught audibly. "Sarah, do not do this," he said, then corrected himself. "Calla, please, just do what I asked. Follow your instructions." The word hung between us, fragile and unfamiliar. He had never said it to me before. "I am thinking about it," I said, and I meant it. I ended the call and set my phone face down. Outside my window, the desert had gone dark. Stars scattered across the sky in indifferent silence. For the first time, I did not rush to choose between duty and self-respect. I let the tension sit. Morning came pale and sharp. The desert does not ease you into the day. It throws light at you and expects you to adjust. I dressed, checked in, moved through familiar routines. My phone was silent. That unsettled me more than the ringing had. Mid-morning notifications began to stack. Not calls this time, but tags and messages. More videos had surfaced. Different angles, different moments. Chairs overturned, glass shattered. In one clip, Emily stood off to the side, hands pressed to her mouth, her white dress stark against the disorder. Her message arrived moments later. "I am scared." That single sentence cut through everything else. I answered immediately. "Where are you?" "With Aunt Laura," she replied. "I'm safe, I think." "Good," I said. "Stay there. Do not go anywhere alone. Do not talk to Marcus." "He keeps texting," she admitted. "He says he just wants to talk." "Do not respond," I said firmly. "Not yet." I heard my own voice then, steady and authoritative. The voice I used when things went sideways at work. It did not apologize. It did not soften itself. Emily latched onto it like a lifeline. When the call ended, I felt the shift, the moment where instinct gave way to intent. This was no longer about a wedding or my father's approval. This was about safety. I searched Marcus's name. At first, nothing seemed out of place. Polished profiles, charity events, articles praising his business ventures. Then I refined the search. Added dates, added locations. A local paper mentioned a domestic dispute at an apartment complex 2 years earlier. No charges filed. A lawsuit quietly settled. Another accusation buried behind non-disclosure agreements. A former business partner describing intimidation tactics. I clicked deeper. Forums, archived posts. Women speaking carefully, never naming him directly, describing the same pattern. Charm turning sharp. Rage when control slipped. My pulse quickened. I took screenshots, saved links, organized everything into a folder. Training took over. Gather, verify, prepare. I booked a flight home, not to smooth things over, to draw a line. The airport felt like a liminal space where time thinned out and emotions dulled just enough to stay functional. I moved through security on muscle memory. Shoes off. Bag zipped. Eyes forward. No one there knew why my jaw was tight or why my phone never left my hand. To them, I was just another traveler with a one-way urgency and a face that discouraged questions. On the plane, I took the window seat and watched Nevada recede into rust and bone. Somewhere below, the base folded back into secrecy, doing what it always did, holding still while the rest of the world made noise. I closed my eyes as the engines roared, the vibration pressing into my ribs like a reminder to breathe. My phone buzzed as soon as we leveled off. Emily texted. He showed up at the house. Mom would not let him in. He is parked across the street. I sat up straighter. The calm I had been building snapped into focus. Is he alone? I typed. Yes, he keeps texting. He says he just wants to talk. Do not engage, I replied. Call the police if he does not leave. I mean it. A pause stretched. Then another message appeared. Dad says calling the police will make it worse. Heat flared behind my eyes. The same reflex I had seen my entire life. Manage appearances. Minimize reality. Hope danger would behave if ignored. It will only make it worse if you keep pretending this is normal. I wrote back. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, then returned. Okay, I will tell Mom. I leaned back in my seat and forced myself to zoom out. I could not fix this from 30,000 feet, but I could prepare. I opened the folder on my phone and reviewed what I had gathered. Articles, screenshots, timestamps, patterns, the story beneath the story. My father called. I let it ring until it stopped. Then deliberately I called him back. Where are you? He demanded, skipping any pretense of calm. On my way, I said. Landing tomorrow evening. Relief slipped through his voice before he masked it. Good. We need to coordinate. No, I replied. We need to prioritize. Sarah, listen to me. Calla, I corrected. Marcus showed up uninvited. He is pressuring Emily. That is not a public relations problem. That is a safety problem. He just wants to explain himself, my father insisted. His family says he was provoked. Provoked by what? I asked, being told no. Silence. I have been looking into him, I continued. This is not new. There are incidents, settlements, people who learn to keep quiet. You do not know that, he snapped. I do, I said, and I have receipts. That stopped him. What do you want us to do? He asked finally. The edge dulled. I want you to stop trying to control the narrative and start protecting your daughter. I want you to stop taking calls from his family without legal advice. And I want you to accept that this is not going away. He sighed, long and tired. You always make things so complicated. No, Dad. I just refuse to make them small. When the plane landed, rain slicked the runway and blurred the world into muted grays. I took a ride straight to my parents' house, watching familiar streets slide past the window. The place looked exactly as it always had. Manicured lawn, warm lights, a careful calm that tried to convince you nothing bad could happen there. Inside, the tension was immediate. My stepmother hovered near the kitchen, eyes red. My father stood by the fireplace, hands clasped behind his back, jaw working. Emily was upstairs. You came, my father said as if surprised. I said I would, I replied. Where is he? Gone, my stepmother said quickly. For now. For now, I echoed. Emily came down the stairs slowly, wrapped in a sweatshirt that swallowed her hands. She looked smaller than I remembered. Adrenaline drained, shock hollowing her out. She crossed the room and hugged me without asking. I stood stiffly for a second, then held her back. He has been texting non-stop, she whispered. He says I owe him a conversation. You do not owe him anything, I said. And you are not having that conversation. We need to be careful, my father interjected. His family has lawyers. They are already talking about defamation. Careful does not mean quiet, I said. You are not listening. I pulled my phone from my pocket and placed it on the table. This is what I found. Articles, screenshots, patterns laid bare. You saw money and polish and assumed character would follow, I said. You ignored the rest because it was inconvenient. Emily stared at the table, tears slipping free. Dad, she said softly. He scares me. My father's shoulders sagged. The fight drained out of him in that moment. What do you want to do? He asked her. I want it to stop, she said. I want him away from me. Then we document everything, I said. We set boundaries. We involve professionals who do not care about his last name. We met with the lawyer the next morning. She was direct and unimpressed. She listened to Emily without interrupting, asked clear questions, waited when Emily needed a moment. This is coercive behavior, she said. The public incident strengthens your case. So do the messages. By mid-afternoon, the paperwork was filed. Temporary restraining order requested. Documentation submitted. A line drawn where there had never been one before. That night I slept on the couch, my phone charging within reach. I knew better than to believe silence meant surrender. Silence from men like him was recalibration. I left before dawn. The house was quiet in the way it only becomes after a decision has been made. Not peaceful, not yet, but settled. Lines had been drawn. Words had been said that could not be taken back. I packed my bag without ceremony, the same way I packed for every return to base. Deliberate, efficient, honest. The email came through just after sunrise. Temporary restraining order granted, effective immediately. I read it twice, letting the language sink in. No contact, no proximity, no exceptions. For the first time since the wedding video lit up my phone under the desert sun, I felt my shoulders loosen. Not relief exactly, but alignment. The rules were clear now. Actions had consequences. Silence no longer protected the wrong people. Emily called later that afternoon. Her voice sounded different. Tired, yes, but steadier. It went through, she said. He cannot come near me. Not the house. Not my work. Nothing. That is good, I replied. How do you feel? Lighter, she said after a pause. Like I am not bracing for impact anymore. That is what boundaries feel like, I told her. She started therapy. She moved into a small apartment that was sparse and imperfect and entirely hers. She sent me photos of mismatched furniture and bare walls. She laughed more easily now, less guarded. We talked about fear, about guilt, about the versions of ourselves we had been taught to perform. For the first time, our conversations did not orbit around managing someone else's expectations. My father changed slowly, imperfectly. He stopped correcting me mid-sentence. He asked questions and waited for answers. Once, he admitted he did not understand my work and asked me to explain it. That alone felt seismic. He called one evening and did not waste time. I owe you an apology, he said. Not just for the wedding. For years of minimizing. For choosing appearances over people. For telling me not to come because he was ashamed. Not of me, but of what I might reveal about him. I listened. Seeing me, I told him, was not the same as respecting me. I know, he said. I am trying to learn the difference. It did not erase the past. It did not guarantee the future. But it cracked something open, and for now that was enough. I returned to base and fell back into routine. Gravel crunching under boots. Checklists. Clear expectations. The desert greeted me the same way it always did. Indifferent and honest. I walked the familiar stretch of fence where this had begun, where I had stood watching my family's illusion collapse from a distance. I thought about the girl I had been. Quiet. Conditioned to stay small. Convinced that love was something you earned by not being inconvenient. I wished I could tell her what I knew now. Being excluded is not the same as being unworthy. Silence is not the same as peace. I did not win by destroying anyone. I did not win by spectacle or revenge. I won by refusing to disappear. By choosing truth over harmony. By setting boundaries instead of begging for acceptance. And by standing still while the people who once called me awkward scrambled to understand why they no longer controlled the narrative. If you have ever been told you were too much, not enough, or simply in the way, remember this. You were never the problem. The moment you stop trying to fit into someone else's version of you, everything changes.